We are honored to have award-winning author, photographer, and cultural documentarian Candacy Taylor with us this morning. She's here to talk about her book, Overground Railroad, the Green Book and the Roots of Black Travel in America. Thanks for being with us. It's great to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
You know, maybe years ago I would not have known what Green Book was, but in 2019, the Academy Award motion picture, the Green Book came out. We all watched this movie and we said, what in the world? Talk to folks about that. If they didn't see the movie or they're unfamiliar, what was the Green Book?
The Green Book was a travel guide. It was published for Black people during the Jim Crow era. So from the 1930s to the 1960s, this was the Bible of Black travel. It was what we used to make sure that we could be safe because segregation and Jim Crow was alive and well throughout the country, even in the North. So it gave us access to all of these communities with a lot of Black-owned businesses, and it was so much more than a travel guide, but it was essentially gave us options to stay wherever we would like throughout the country.
That picture you just saw was Victor Green. He was a Black postal worker, and he really kind of developed this.
Yes, Victor Green, he was the Steve Jobs of his time.
Really?
I really believe that because he was solving such a monumental problem with a very simple solution. And I'm sure when Steve Jobs put a camera in a phone, he had no idea it would become the civil rights tool of our time, right? So in that way, Victor Green gave Black folks access to experience America just like any other person who wanted to take a vacation. He was a man with a 7th grade education. He was from Harlem. He was a postal worker, as you said, and he had an incredible vision, and it grew so quickly. Within a few years, he started in Harlem as a small zine in 1936, and within a few years, it was in every state east of the Mississippi River.
Tell us a little bit about the book. I know the book we're looking at there is for more young people, but your original book that I'm holding, talk to us about what folks can find in it.
Well, I was really critical. I mean, I had a great opportunity to study with Henry Louis Gates, with Skip Gates at Harvard. And so I did a fellowship there to do the scholarly research for this book. And after Harvard, I would have been fine to write the book. But, you know, when I really drove around the country and I saw the communities and I've been documenting these places, I've scouted over 6,000 sites.
Wow.
So this is not just this, you know, a look back at a travel guide, a historical look. It's also a contemporary investigation, really, of what's happening and the why. Why do we keep falling forward and back in terms of this pendulum of justice? And so it really examines decade by decade what happened.
Talk to us a little bit about Tulsa in the Green Book and just Route 66. And I mean, I would suspect with so many affluent Blacks in our community after, you know, trying to rebuild, trying to regain their footing, that there were people coming here that might not have come here before.
Right. Well, the Greenwood District was in the Green Book, and it was such a vibrant, and I'm so inspired by what Tulsa has done to literally unearth this history. Right. And it's very courageous because a lot of places won't do it. They won't face it. They won't acknowledge it. And I don't know if it's because you think it's a sad, you know, thing that we want to forget, but by honoring it and by recognizing it, it emboldens all of us to move forward. Right. So I think you're such a symbol of what could be in terms of us literally moving this ball forward in regards to race.
I know our mayor has spent a great deal of time and energy in trying to make that happen, now devoting $1 million for next year. Wow. You know, so I think that there is, as you said, hope. I thought last year with the race massacre commemoration, the attention that came to the city, because it was for a long time a dark spot in our history. As a native Tulsan, I never even read about it until I was an adult, which is a travesty. But thank you so much. I love the fact these books are going to be available. You can obviously get them on Amazon and such, but here locally, they're available at our friends over at Magic City Books. They actually have some autographed copies copies there. The younger version, I would assume, just has a little bit of a different spin, or is
It's
it?
for ages 12 and up,
Yeah.
and it really, we edited it for their, for that audience as a total redesign, but we took things out like mortgages and we had to explain a little further,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the only difference. It's essentially the same book, but I encourage parents and their children to read it together.
That dialogue can only help us for the future. Great to meet you. Thank you,
too.
Candacy, for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.